Hi, this is Pastor Dana with our Wednesday chat. Hope you're having a great week. I was doing some thinking about Pastor Shane's message last week, and one of the things he was talking about was the early church and how they endured some persecution. You remember that? And the persecution caused the believers to be scattered. And just kind of reflecting on that a little bit and some of the things that Shane was talking about, it's just kind of interesting because we seldom expect that negatives will translate into positives. Most of the time in our life, we're thinking, if I can just get rid of the negative, whatever that negative is for us. For them, obviously, it was persecution. It was being scattered. Those are negatives. But God is at work doing something positive, and we further read that the people shared Jesus with people wherever they went, and there ended up being great joy in that city. Pretty fantastic result for kind of a scary beginning. Shane also talked about what had happened in China with persecution. Once again, a big negative in that persecution, and then missionaries being barred from China. So those are negatives. But then there was a tremendous God at work scenario where the church actually multiplied. So here's the thing. When we experience negatives in our life, we have expectations that it's going to continue to work out in a negative. But that's not always the case, especially when God's at work. I was thinking about Joseph. I love the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. Wow, what a, you just look at his life and you go, he just keeps getting ripped off and ripped off and ripped off. He has negative upon negative upon negative that's going on. And he's betrayed. He loses his freedom. He loses his family. He loses his homeland. And yet, God's at work. And later on, when the story kind of finishes up a little bit, and there's his brothers, and Joseph is offering them forgiveness, but he says this, you meant this for evil, but God meant this for something good. 3 different times he said God was involved in this whole thing. You didn't do it, he said. God did it. God was at work. Now, it doesn't excuse their behavior at all in that. But we need to kind of take a larger view sometimes of the things that we go through in our life. What's going on in our world today can be pretty scary. And it seems like a big negative. And how can anything good come out of all this? But we need to remember that God is always at work. We may not always see what he's up to. We may not understand what he's up to. But that's okay. He's God, we're not. So we just trust. And in your life, you may be going through some things right now you see a lot of negatives. And the expected outcome of your negatives is something negative. Typically, negative means we're taking something away. If you have compound negatives, you're taking lots of things away. Our expected result is it's going to be a net loss for us. But that's not God's math. God is a creative God. He's at work. He's doing powerful things that blow our minds. So expect something good to happen from the negatives in your life because God loves you. You belong to him. You're his child, and he's at work. And when he's at work, good things are going to come. It may not be what we expected, but it's going to be good. So here's what we need to do. Start looking for the hand of God at work in our life, even during the negative times. And then, once we see where he's at work, just say, Lord, let me just jump in and be a part of whatever you're doing, whether it's what you're doing in the world or what you're doing in my neighbors' lives, my life. Help me to be a part of what you're up to, because that's where the excitement is, and there'll be joy as a result of all that. Thanks so much. We're looking forward to being together on our online service this coming Sunday. Have a great week.